Member for Coquitlam-Millardville.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. For the past 3 weeks, we've been asking the Minister of Community Development questions about the chaos at the Auditor General for Local Government's office. And rather than accept responsibility for wasting $5.2 million on the Premier's pet project, the Minister reads from her message box. And sometimes she even reads her lines twice. Yesterday, the Minister admitted that on January 15th, the Audit Council told her that they lost confidence.
This House will come to order.
The Audit Council told her that they lost confidence in Ms. Ruta. But when we asked, the Minister told the House that all was well. So to the Minister, why did she ignore the Audit Council's letter for 3 months?
Minister of Community, Sport and Cultural Development.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker. And to the member opposite, thank you for the question. Again, Honourable Speaker, we absolutely remain committed to the principles of accountability and transparency that are the foundations of the Auditor General for Local Government office. But Honourable Speaker, let us be extremely clear. We've been working closely with the Audit Council for months. It has not been the last few rounds of question period that has enabled us to explore options to ensure the functioning of this office. Honourable Speaker, again, let me make it very clear. Our government remains committed to the principles behind the creation of the Office of the Auditor General for Local Government. We want it to be successful, to do the job it was set out to do. And Honourable Speaker, over the next few weeks, I encourage members opposite to go out into your communities, to talk to the taxpayers, to get a feel for how your citizens, your communities are feeling about the fundamental principles of the Auditor General for Local Government. Ask questions about how your local taxpayers are feeling about the compensation that is currently happening with local governments, that is considerably outpacing that of other public service agencies. Honourable Speaker, I'm advised that the Audit Council will be making a recommendation for a qualified person to be appointed as the Acting Auditor General for Local Government. We remain focused, determined, and committed to ensuring that this office is successful.
Here.
Members, the Chair will hear the answer and the question. Coquitlam-Millardville.
So we will be going out to taxpayers and asking what they think about this government's waste of $5.2 million on the Auditor General for Local Government. Madam Speaker, they'll certainly be telling us that they're not impressed with the decisions of this government. So the Minister tells us that her staff received the Audit Council's letter on January 15th, but didn't tell her about it. And just so that we're clear, the Minister wants us to believe that when she was appointed to run the Premier's pet project, she lost confidence in Ms. Ruta, but her staff did not tell her about the letter. Instead, the Minister came to this House and said that all is well. So to the Minister, which other areas of her ministerial responsibility has she instructed her staff not to brief her on?
Minister of Community, Sport and Cultural Development.
Honourable Speaker, we've been extremely clear that we've been disappointed by the lack of performance of the Auditor General for Local Government's office, and that's why, Honourable Speaker, we exhausted every option over several months to ensure that the success of the office. Honourable Speaker, we absolutely remain committed to the success. Honourable Speaker, if it was up to that side of the House, there would never be the accountability and the transparency that we are currently looking at for working with local governments. Honourable Speaker, it is absolutely prudent that we look at the work that is necessary to ensure the success of this office. We're committed to doing that. We will do that work and ensure that success.
Here.
Member for Skeena.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Yesterday, the minister said she was determined, she was committed, she was focused on ensuring the success of the Auditor General for local government. In fact, she's so focused that she either instructed her staff to keep her in the dark about the January non-confidence letter from the Audit Council, or her staff just decided to keep the minister out of the loop. Either way, the minister allowed the office to waste $5.2 million on her watch. To the minister, given her abysmal performance to date, exactly why should British Columbians believe she's up to the task of stopping the waste of taxpayers' money?
Minister for Community, Sport and Cultural Development.
Honourable Speaker, the members opposite know full well that over the last few months the Audit Council has been working to resolve the lack of performance audits and undertake an independent review of the Auditor General for local governments. Honourable Speaker, we exhausted every opportunity to ensure that there would be resolve. When it was felt that resolve could not be found, our ministry, our government acted on that, and we took the steps that were necessary to ensure a successful office of the Auditor General for local government's office.
Member for Skeena on a supplemental.
Honourable Speaker, listening to this minister, I don't know whether this is question period or an episode of Yes, Minister. The minister told the House all is well, after her appointees and her staff told her in writing that the office is a shambles. The minister said she had a plan to fix the problems at the auditor's office 9 days before she decided to fire Ms. Ruda. And now she says she's focused on making the AGLG work. To the minister, the first audit cost $5.2 million. How much will the next one cost?
Minister for Community, Sport and Cultural Development.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker, and thank you to the member opposite for the question. We will continue to work with the Audit Council and stakeholders to ensure that the office delivers on the principles that it was set out to do.
Member for Victoria, Swan Lake.
Madam Speaker, yesterday the minister actually had the gall to say in this House that the Premier's pet project was a response to a grassroots movement all across British Columbia. Even worse, the minister said they'd listened to local governments and implemented what they asked for. In fact, the Union of BC Municipalities passed a resolution in 2011 voicing their disagreement with the need for the Office of the Auditor General for local government. Yesterday, the president of the UBCM got it right and called it a complete waste of money, Madam Speaker. So with validation like that, Madam Speaker, I would like to ask the minister this. After wasting $5.2 million, how on earth can she expect local governments to believe that the AGLG can ever, in fact, help them?
Minister for Community, Sport and Cultural Development.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker, and thank you for the member opposite for the question to allow me the opportunity to provide some very essential background information. In 2010, the BC Chamber AGM, BC Chamber passed a resolution endorsing the notion of a municipal auditor to do regular, comprehensive, value-for-money audits of municipal spending. Honourable Speaker, local governments are the closest to our citizens and provide some of the very essential day-to-day services. The Auditor General's role can work cooperatively with local governments to identify best practices in the provisions of those services. That was from the Coquitlam Mayor, released February 4th in 2012. This is an important step, Honourable Speaker, in bringing a much-needed addition to accountability of how City Halls spend our property taxes. If something is a concern at City Hall, residents need to have someone available to look at that problem with fresh eyes. That was Jordan Bateman in February 4th of 2012. And Honourable Speaker,
I ask the minister to take her seat because we are not continuing until this House comes to order. Madam Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Local governments from across British Columbia, taxpayers from across British Columbia, and organizations in communities throughout British Columbia, as I've provided the opportunity, see great value in having an Auditor General for Local Government's office, and we ensure to do the necessary work that sometimes leadership takes to ensure that this office is successful.
Member from Victoria Swan Lake on a supplemental.
Yes, I do, Madam Speaker. And I want to thank the minister, if I can, because she's thanked me for my question, for taking us back to 2010 when they trotted out endorses, and she mentioned grassroots supporters like Jordan Bateman and Mike Klassen. That is a social movement that reverberated right across the province. Here's a newsflash for the minister, Madam Speaker. Grassroots aren't grown in the Premier's office, but if they were, they'd probably use the same heat lamp that cooked up the HST. It's interesting, the endorsements that couldn't be secured, Madam Speaker. It's interesting to see the endorsements that couldn't be secured for this office. You didn't see an endorsement from the former mayor of Penticton. You didn't see the former mayor of Pemberton endorse this office, Madam Speaker, but you did see on the press release an endorsement from the Minister of Education. The Minister of Education was there. Madam Speaker, the Premier's pet project is completely discredited in the eyes of local government leaders, in the eyes of taxpayers across British Columbia. It has been a disastrous waste. It's completely off the rails.
Question?
So I would ask the minister this: how does she plan? How much more money does she plan to waste on the Premier's pet project going forward from today?
Minister of Community, Sport and Cultural Development.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. To the member opposite, again, we will do the necessary work. We remain focused, committed, and determined to make sure the Office of the Auditor General for Local Government is successful.
Hear, hear.
Member for Nelson Creston.
Well, I know one town that's looking very forward to the fact that the AGLG is such an ineffective and such a big mess. That'd be the town of Jumbo, Madam Speaker. They're not going to get audited, perhaps. Maybe they're municipality number 52. They're so far down the line. So how much would the government have to spend before they got to the fake town of Jumbo, before it ever got audited, for all the money that's just sitting there in its bank account, not going to a single citizen of the Kootenays? Madam Speaker, $5.2 million has already been wasted. How much more is she going to be wasting of taxpayers' dollars?
Through the chair, madam. Through the chair. Minister of Community, Sport and Cultural Development.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. And to the member opposite, thank you for the question. Again, we remain committed and focused and determined to ensure the success of this office. We're going to do the necessary work. We're going to work with the Audit Council, and we're going to be successful.
Hear, hear.
Member from Port Coquitlam.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Thank you, Honourable Speaker. The minister said something interesting. She said she's going to do the necessary work to make this office work. One would have expected that work would have been done ahead of time, and had that been done, we wouldn't have wasted $5.2 million. At the time that this idea was floated from the brain of the Premier, The questions were raised by local governments about the effectiveness and the way that the government was wanting to implement this particular program. So my question to the minister is this. She says she wants to do the work. Will she go back and work with municipalities on ways to improve the local government auditor general, and perhaps looking at where it should be in the first place, with appropriate staff and an appropriate budget, with the current auditor general for the province of British Columbia, who will be more than happy to do the job?
Minister for Community, Sport and Cultural Development.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Yes, of course I'll work with local governments.